In episode 47 of the CySec101 training series, we're going to go through the overview and the beginning foundational stuff of the vulnerability scanner. And there are many different vulnerability scanners available, so this is going to be a really good one. This is part of the Security Solutions module, the very last video of the Security Solutions module of the CySec101 pathway of TryHackMe. And as a part of this room, or this part of this video, we're going to go through the introduction to vulnerabilities, just so you know what they actually are and how they work. Of course, if you have never seen them or heard of them before, it's a pretty big concept in cybersecurity. We're going to talk about vulnerability scanning and the various tools for vulnerability scanning. We need to talk about the common vulnerabilities and exposures and the common vulnerability scoring system, so CVE and CVSS. And then, of course, we're going to talk about an open source vulnerability scanner, which is OpenVAS, and it's a very, very good one. A lot of people use it, a lot of companies use it, and then we're going to use OpenVAS to actually do a practical exercise. So I'm excited about this one. I think you're going to get a lot of value out of it. We're getting more and more into the tooling stuff, and this has just been, it's been a good run that we've had over the last 5 or 6 videos inside of the CySec101 playlist. So I hope you hang out with me, and I hope we actually get a chance to do some cool exercises together. So let's do it. If you'd like to support this channel and get access to me on Discord, consider joining Hackaholics Anonymous. We have 4 tiers: the supporter, agent, guardian, and master. Each tier gets their own Discord server and early access to content. The agent, guardian, and master levels get exclusive content, exclusive downloads, bug bounties, monthly Python automations, live streams with me every month, plus so much more. And to join, you can simply click the link in the description below, or you can go to our homepage and click the join button there, or you can go to youtube.com/@HankHacksHackers/join, and you will be able to join Hackaholics Anonymous. Now, without further ado, let us jump into the vulnerability scanner overview. All right, what are vulnerabilities? So imagine you're living in a small, lovely house. One day, you notice that your roof has many small holes. If not treated, these small holes can cause significant problems. During rain, water can come through these leaks and damage your furniture. Dust particles and insects can enter the house through these little holes, and these small holes are a weakness in your home that can lead to significant problems in the future if you don't fix them immediately. So these are known as vulnerabilities. These little weaknesses are known as vulnerabilities. And you start repairing the roof to fix this problem and keep your home safe. This process is known as patching. So vulnerabilities are weaknesses. Fixing vulnerabilities is known as patching, right? Very, very simple, like you're patching a hole in the roof, right? Very, very simple stuff, easy stuff to understand. So digital devices also have vulnerabilities inside their software or the hardware, and these are the weaknesses in the software programs or hardware that an attacker can actually leverage to compromise the digital device or you as the end user. So these vulnerabilities may sound small, but like the small holes in the roof of a house or something like that. But the vulnerabilities in digital devices can lead to massive damage if they're not noticed on time. And there are so many different examples of this that is inside of the Security Plus training series. So if you go to the Security Plus playlist, you'll be able to see I give a lot of real life examples of what happened historically to massive companies and the amount of damage that was caused to these companies because they didn't fix vulnerabilities that could have easily been fixed, right? So hackers are always searching for these weaknesses as they make their way to your system or network by exploiting them. And the interesting thing about device vulnerabilities is that you cannot notice them as easily as the holes in the roof that you dedicate yourself to hunting them down. So that's what we're supposed to be doing, and this is the whole concept behind vulnerability scanning. So after hunting these vulnerabilities down, the process of patching starts, where fixes are applied to protect those vulnerabilities, and this is what we're going to be talking about, is how to hunt those things in these digital devices. And we're going to talk about the tools to do them, as well as we're actually going to do it. We're going to run OpenVAS to actually do it. So vulnerability scanning and its types, tools for vulnerability scanning, OpenVAS vulnerability scanner demonstration, and of course the practical exercise. Those are the learning objectives for this video. So what is the process of fixing vulnerabilities? And that is like patching the hole in the roof. That's what we're doing to a vulnerability. We're patching it. So let's talk about vulnerability scanning. Vulnerability scanning is the inspection of the digital system to find the weaknesses. So we're literally just scanning them to find the vulnerabilities. It's not that hard to wrap your head around. You need to do this regularly, so it shouldn't be just when something happens or when you think something is about to happen that you do it. There should be regular, scheduled vulnerability scans that happen all the time, right? This is a continuous process. You'll hear that phrase a lot. So attackers leverage these vulnerabilities to compromise your infrastructure, which leads to considerable losses. And it's also important compliance requirement of many regulatory bodies because they want you to be on top of it so that customer information doesn't get leaked, sensitive information doesn't get leaked, things like that. So it's very, very important to know that there are compliance and regulations and security standards that advise performing vulnerability scans quarterly at the minimum, but more frequently if you can, right? So some advise doing it once a year, which I think it's not enough. Honestly, if you're a big enough company, you need to be doing it like all the time, once a month if you're Microsoft, you know what I mean? Or once a week if you're Microsoft. Like there should be a team dedicated just to doing vulnerability scans. And then there's penetration testing, which is essentially the other side of this coin of the vulnerability scan. So we see how important it is to conduct these things in digital landscape regularly. However, manually looking for these weaknesses can be very hectic and miss major ones. So the bigger network or the bigger the network is, the slower the process of manual vulnerability scanning would be. And this is where the tools come in. The automated vulnerability scanning has made life much easier. And you just install the tool, give it the IP address that you want it to run the scan against, and it will go nuts and it will find whatever it possibly can and even give you the details of it. It'll generate reports for you. It'll score it, whether or not it's super severe or something that you don't necessarily need to worry about. All of these things are available through these vulnerability scanners. And once you've identified the vulnerability, you can fix them. And of course, this is known as a patch, as we've already discussed. So we have different types of vulnerability scanners, and there are several categories that fall into, or at least two categories, excuse me. There's the authenticated scan versus the unauthenticated scan. And this is referring to your login credentials. So if you're doing authenticated, the credentials of the subject host must be provided so that you can log in and actually do it. And this identifies the vulnerability that can be exploited by the attacker having access to the host, meaning they've logged in. And it provides a deeper visibility into the target system by scanning the configuration and installed applications. So scanning an internal database by providing the credentials to the vulnerability scanner. That's the authenticated. Unauthenticated is when you don't require the host credentials and it only just needs the IP address, and it identifies vulnerabilities that can be exploited by an external attacker that does not have access to the internal network. It's less resource intensive and straightforward to set up, so you just scan a public facing website and that's basically it. And then there's the internal versus external scan. So the conducted from the inside of the network is an internal scan, which requires authentication. So this is essentially you're doing an authenticated scan. It focuses on the vulnerabilities that can be exploited inside the network, identifies vulnerabilities that would be exposed to the attackers once they get into the network, and external scans conduct from outside of the network. It focuses on vulnerabilities that can be exploited from outside the network to get into the network, right? So it identifies the vulnerabilities that are exposed to the attacker from outside the network. And then we have the external scan that looks like this. We have the internal scan that's inside the network and actually running it. So you can see that they're outside of this cloud that has all of the devices. That's external. And then when they get inside the cloud, they can scan all of the devices internally, right? So from outside, they're just basically scanning the cloud itself, essentially. And from inside, they're scanning all of the individual devices. That's what the idea is anyway. So the choice between vulnerability scan types depends on several factors. Authenticated are often used for internal vulnerability scanning, while unauthenticated are used for external vulnerability scanning, also known as PenTesting. So which type of vulnerability scan requires the credentials of the host? And that would be authenticated. There we go. What type of vulnerability scan focuses on identifying the vulnerabilities that can be exploited from outside of the network? And that would be an external scan. And that's it. All right, so let's talk about all the tools for vulnerability scanning. There are a lot of them. I think the biggest name in vulnerability scanners is Nessus. So it was developed in 98. There we go. It was developed in 98. Tenable bought them in 2005 and it became their proprietary software. It can do a lot of stuff, and it's used by large enterprises. It's available both free and paid versions. The free version offers a limited amount of scan features. In contrast, the commercial version offers advanced scanning, unlimited scans, and professional support. And it needs to be deployed and managed on premises. So this is Nessus, okay? We have Qualys, developed in '99 as a subscription-based vulnerability management solution. Along with continuous vulnerability scanning, it provides compliance checks and asset management. It automatically alerts on the vulnerabilities found during continuous monitoring. And the best thing about Qualys is that it is a cloud-based platform, which means that there is no extra cost or effort to keep it on and running on physical hardware and manage it. So basically, Nessus needs to be on premises, meaning on your own devices or on your own hardware, while Qualys can be run through a cloud-based solution, and it can probably scan all of your cloud machines as well as your on-site machines. Then we have NextPost, which was developed by Rapid7. Rapid7 is a big name in the security business in 2005, and it's a subscription-based vulnerability management, continuously discovers new assets in the network and performs vulnerability scans on them. It gives vulnerability risk scores depending on the asset value and the vulnerability's impact, and it also provides compliance checks against various standards. It offers both on-premises and hybrid cloud and on-premises deployment modes. Then we have OpenVAS. The open source vulnerability assessment solution developed by Greenbone offers basic features with known vulnerability scanned through its database. It's less extensive than the commercial tools, but it gives you a flavor of a complete vulnerability scanner. It's beneficial for small organizations and individual systems. And the next section will explore how to use this. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're literally going to use OpenVAS. So almost all of them offer reporting capabilities. They generate a detailed report, and they contain the list of the vulnerabilities discovered, their scores for them, their risk scores, severity scores, and detailed descriptions. Some vulnerability scanners offer advanced reporting capabilities that provide remediation methods for all the discovered vulnerabilities that allow you to export these vulnerability assessment in different formats. Each of the tools has its strengths. When choosing a suitable vulnerability scanner for you or your assets or your activities, you have to consider the scope, resources, depth of analysis, and whatever other factors. And that's kind of it, right? So at the very least, if you know what the vulnerability is and what risk factor it holds, you can go to the CVE or the CVSS database and figure out how bad it actually is. And then from there, you can just look up patches, because usually the patches are available. By the time that it gets to the CVE or the CVSS database, there are solutions available on how to patch them. So even if you don't have a vulnerability scanner that tells you what to do to patch it, at the very least, you can go to those resources and then find out how to patch it yourself, right? So is Nessus currently an open source vulnerability scanner? It is. It actually has one. Yes. Oh, okay, so I guess it's not. I mean, it said that it had an open source portion. It had a free portion. I guess they mean like entirely. Is it open source? Which company developed the NextPost vulnerability scanner? So NextPost was developed by Rapid7. There we go. That's the company, buddy. There we go, Rapid7. And what is the name of the open source vulnerability scanner developed by Greenbone? And that, my friend, is OpenVAS. Come on. All right. Let's talk about CVE and CVSS. CVE and CVSS are very important databases. You will hear about this frequently. If you're going to be in the security business or in the security game in general, you will be hearing about these various organizations, I guess we can call them, and the websites that they have. MITRE or NIST, I think. NIST developed CVE, I believe. And the CVSS is just a scoring system that helps you find out how critical or how severe a given vulnerability or exposure is. So CVE stands for Common Vulnerabilities and Exposures, and there is a unique number for each of the inquiries and complaints. And if there's any updates to it, you can easily follow up on that using the CVE number. And coming to the help desk scenario that we had at the beginning right here, basically it says you deal with hundreds of complaints daily regarding IT outages and several other problems, and you can use the CVE database to help you with that. So if the CVE number is a unique number that's given to the vulnerability, And this was developed by MITRE. Okay, that's what it is. It's not NIST, it's MITRE. Whenever a new vulnerability is discovered in any software application, it's given a unique CVE and a reference and published online in a CVE database. The publication aims to help people become aware of these vulnerabilities so that they can apply protective measures to remediate them, aka patch them. You can find the details of any previous vulnerability in the database. An example of the CVE number is this. So the first portion is the year, and then that's the actual identifier for it. So the prefix, every CVE actually has the prefix CVE in the beginning. Then there's the year, which is the year that it was discovered. And then the arbitrary digits, the last part, that contains 4 or more arbitrary digits. That's basically kind of the identifier for this, right? So if you see something that's 2024, that means it's like it literally just happened. They just discovered it. And there are thousands of vulnerabilities that were discovered in 2024. This is not the game of cybersecurity is constantly evolving. So these things will be happening regularly, which is why the industry is expanding the way that it is. So CVSS stands for Common Vulnerability Scoring System. And if we return to the help desk example, you would need to prioritize these things. This is why there's a scoring system. And so it goes from 0 to 10 based on severity, and 10 would be critical. If it's a level 10, you need to address it right now. You need to address it yesterday. If it's a level 0, it's like, all right, bro, we don't even need to think about this, honestly. In the computing world, just as each vulnerability has a CVE number that uniquely identifies it, it also has a CVSS score that tells you how severe that vulnerability is, and it looks at multiple factors to be able to calculate it. For example, the impact that it can have, how easy it is to exploit somebody based on that vulnerability, and this is the scoring range. So from 0 to 3.9, it's low. Don't really worry about it. 4 to 6.9 is medium, 7 to 8.9 is high, and 9 to 10 is critical. So essentially, anything that is high or critical needs to be addressed immediately. Medium would be the very next in line, obviously, and then low would be the last in line. So you literally go for the highest score first, and then from there, you just work your way down until you've taken care of everything, essentially. So what does CVE stand for? And that would be the Common Vulnerabilities, right? And exposures. And then which organization developed the CVE? And that would be the MITRE organization. Oh, it's MITRE Corporation. My bad. MITRE Corporation. What would be the severity level of a vulnerability with a score of 5.3? And that would be a medium. And now we get to talk about OpenVAS. All right, so to be able to run this, I think we actually have to install it on an Ubuntu machine, and the installation requires many dependencies. So we're going to use Docker to install it, because Docker is a container manager. And so it allows you to install everything, including all of its dependencies and all of that. So we have already installed OpenVAS on the machine given for the practical exercise. So why the hell are you telling me that I need to install it? Like, what was the point of all of that? Jesus. Okay, so if you wanted to install it, this is what you have to do. So you have to do sudo apt install docker.io. Now, depending on the version of Linux that you're running, depending on the distribution of Linux that you're running, your package manager may be apt, it may be yum, or I think DMG or something like that. There are a few different package managers. So once you go through that, it'll install it, and then we'll run this specific command to actually run it with all of the dependencies installed. So we will run the following command to install OpenVAS container with all of the, or excuse me, my bad. So this is to install Docker. And then when you have Docker installed, you will then use Docker to run this specific command to install OpenVAS. So my mistake, this one is to install Docker. This one is to use Docker to install OpenVAS. Once you have it installed, then you need to essentially open it via its web interface. And you can do it through this command. So there's actually a given command that's available for this. We can go down here to run the command. This is just showing a bunch of screenshots for it. I think the command is actually on the next page. But you can run it inside of the terminal and it'll just open it for you. In this particular case, let's see, let's go from the very top here. So you can access it by opening any of the browsers and typing this in the URL, which is your loopback URL, and this will take you to the login page. Once you enter the correct login credentials, the following dashboard will open. Your login credentials will be developed as you go through the installation. You will be prompted to create your login credentials. This is the dashboard. So this is what it looks like. It's very similar to essentially any other security appliance. And then as we go through it, we can actually start running a vulnerability scanner. So you have to create a task to be able to do this. And then you would, inside of the tasks drop down, inside of the task menu, you will go inside of the scans option, or excuse me, vice versa, my bad. The tasks option is available inside of the scans option. So inside of the scans menu, when you do a scans drop down, you can create a new task. So this is what it looks like over here. Let's see if we can zoom in on this a little bit. So this is inside of the scans menu over here. And then we have this button, this star button, and then you click on that and then you can create a new task. And from here, we enter the name of the task, we click scan targets and highlight whatever the IP address is that we want to use. So this is where the scan targets would be. And then you click on that and you actually designate your target that you would want to scan. You enter the name of your machine and then you enter the IP address that you want to scan, and then you basically just click create. The rest of these options are not necessary right now to be able to run your very first scan. If you're doing an authenticated check, it's available down here where it actually says use credentials for authenticated checks, and then you would do a drop down and select a credential profile that you've created. So you actually have to create your credential profile before you do the authenticated check, but it will just use that credential profile to log in and then do it as such. So there are multiple scan options that are available. Each scan option has a scope of scanning. You can study the details and choose accordingly and then click the create button. So we have that over here. So we go under the scan options and we have the OpenVAS default as our scanner, and then there's the full and fast, there's discovery, full fast ultimate, full and very deep phrasing, full and very deep ultimate, very phrasing, and then we have host discovery and system discovery, which are the potential options that we see right here. And then once you've selected that, you click create and the task is created and it will be displayed on the task dashboard. To initiate it, we can click the play button in the actions option of the task. So you'll actually see the task at the bottom right here. So we have the name, which is the first scan, the status of it, etc. You got to press the play button right here for the task to start running. So you can basically create multiple tasks, right? You can create one, let's say, for each IP address that you have been assigned to scan, and then from there you can just run them one by one. It'll take a few minutes to complete it. After it's completed, you'll see the mark as done, and the visualization inside the task dashboard will display some numbers indicating the severity of the vulnerabilities. And to check the details, you have to click on the actual task name, which is my first scan. You click on it, it's clickable, and then it'll take you inside of the scan, and this is what it looks like over here, right? So we have the results, which is there are 13 vulnerabilities that have been found, and then that's also clickable. So you can click on that and it'll take you into the details of the vulnerabilities, and it'll give you the list of the vulnerabilities along with their scores, right? So this is the name of the vulnerabilities. We have the severities of the scores right here. So these are all 0, which are basically log items. And then we have 2.6 low, 4.3 medium, and this is the rest of the data for what has actually been run, right? So it says, you know, on the location of, which one is it? So the medium one is on 22, on port 22, which is our SSH port, and the TCP protocol. So like any other vulnerability scanner, it allows you to export these results as reports, and you can fetch the reports in any format from your task dashboard, which makes it very useful when you need to go ahead and create some kind of a a report for your superior, right? So it's like if you go into a meeting and you need to tell them about what you found, you just use the PDF document, or you can export the PDF document and email it to them, present it in front of the C-suite executives, so on and so forth. So these reports that are generated for you are very, very useful, and it has all of these details that you see inside of the dashboard. It creates all of those details and then some, and it's just very, very handy. So what's the IP address of the machine that was scanned in this task? And we have it right here, 10.10.154.44. So let's go right here. All right, cool. And how many vulnerabilities were discovered in this host? And it was 13 from what I remember. Very good. So now we're going to run our practical exercise. So in this exercise, we are not running the scanner apparently. So this company has already ran the scan on their IP address, and the activity was intended to enhance their security posture. So they created this report, and now we are the information security engineer working for that firm, and we are reviewing this report. So it's already on the desktop, and we're going to open it and use it to answer the questions. Performing the vulnerability scan may take some time. This is why we have already placed the scan report on the desktop so you can analyze and answer the questions. How nice of them. They're trying to save us some time. So you can start the virtual machine by pressing this and which I've already done. Once it has started, if you prefer to perform the vulnerability scan yourself rather than analyzing the scan report, you must start the Docker container of OpenVAS to access it, and you can do so by running this. I am not going to do that. I will rely on their report to answer their question, but should you choose to do it yourself, you can just do Docker start OpenVAS. Once it has been started, then you can go to this specific IP address to log into OpenVAS, because once OpenVAS is actually started, then this IP address, your loopback IP address, is going to be the IP address that you will visit to log in. The username and password in my particular case is admin, which is the default login credentials for the tool, and then you can modify that and change that later on your own installation. Obviously, you need to do this on your own computer or on your own virtual machine when you log into TryHackMe. So let me go ahead and open this report real quick so that we can get some answers here. What's going on? Why can't I zoom out? Oh, I'm already super zoomed in, so I need to do this. I need to actually zoom out of the page like that. Okay, cool. All right, here we go. There's the file. It requires a username and password because I see a locked icon on it. So I wonder if it's basically the same username and password as the OpenVAS application. So let's, I mean, I feel like it's gonna take a minute to load because these virtual machines sometimes can be slow. Oh, here we go. It's already open. It was not even locked. Okay, whatever. Okay, cool. So what's the question? The first question is, what is the score of the single high severity vulnerability that's found in this scan? So we're going to find the high severity vulnerability. There is 1 high severity, 3 medium severities, 0 low, and that is the local host that ran it. And so the score of the high severity vulnerability. So we have a high level that's been detected here. The score is 10. That is insane. That's really, really high. That's crazy. Okay, so a level 10 freaking vulnerability. We need to fix that right away. What is the solution suggested by OpenVAS for this vulnerability? So let's go here and look at this. So product detection result summary is the remote OpenVAS Greenbone vulnerability manager is installed, configured in a way that accounts with default password enabled. Okay. Vulnerability detection result. It was possible to log in using the following credential: username, password, role, admin. So the default login. The issue may be exploited by a remote attacker to gain access to sensitive information or modify system configuration. The solution workaround is to change the password of the mentioned accounts. That's basically it. That's the solution that they have, because whoever this person was using the default login instead of actually changing the logins. And I mean, that's it. That's literally it. How simple is that? So as security analysts, you are going to most likely deal with vulnerability scanners as frequently as you would with an intrusion detection system or some kind of a SIM tool, right? So you will be using tools to accomplish certain tasks. And for the most part, if you're on defensive security, then you're going to be using intrusion detection tools and SIM tools and things like that, firewalls, stuff like that. If you're on the offensive security side, you will be using things like vulnerability scanners, and you'll be going through penetration testing exercises and all of the things that would be actively searching for vulnerabilities and weaknesses inside of the system that can be exploited, and you'll be using tools like OpenVAS. So this is kind of the name of the game, really. Like, once you go through enough of these tools and you have familiarized yourself with these tools, then you'll be able to really become a functional security analyst. Like, it's not a hard business, in my opinion. It's not a hard task. When you get into pen testing and when you get into security engineering, then yeah, you need to really know what you're doing. But when you're going in as a junior security analyst, or when you're going in as a regular security analyst, like, it's not hard to just learn these tools, learn how to pull information from them, how to understand the vulnerabilities, how to report these vulnerabilities. That's basically your job. And it's just surprising that, some people either don't do the work, like they don't do the studying and everything that they need to do to get better at this, or they just have not developed the interpersonal skills that's required to communicate the findings that they have with their management and with their C-suite executives and things like that. So I don't think this is difficult to do. I think you can definitely do this, and we're going to learn a few more skill sets and a few more tools that you can use. But apart from that, we're almost done with the CySec101 pathway. And if you've gone through every single video, then I am very, very proud of you. And I think you're going to feel much more confident by the end of this series. And then you can go into the SOC Level 1 or Junior Pen Tester and the various other playlists that are available on the channel, and you will go in there knowing the things that you really need, knowing the fundamentals and the foundations that you really need. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but this is the last tool inside of the security tools, the security tooling part. So then we're gonna go and finalize the rest of the CySec101 playlist, and that's it. And then you can go off to the races and start doing some really cool things. If you found this video useful and you would like to get more videos like this one, I do encourage you to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so that you get notified the next time that a video comes out on this channel, including all the videos that go on in the CySec101 playlist. And then we had, the Network Plus playlist that recently dropped, and then there's going to be the future playlist when we go into AI for cybersecurity, and then pen tester and ethical hacker and all that stuff. So again, highly encourage you to like, subscribe, and turn on notification bell so that you get notified when those videos come out. And then if you have any comments or if you have any questions, make sure that you drop them in the comment section below. I'm very responsive for that, and I look forward to hearing from the community. If you'd like to support this channel and get access to me on Discord, consider joining Hackaholics Anonymous. We have 4 tiers: the supporter, agent, guardian, and master. Each tier gets their own Discord server and early access to content. The agent, guardian, and master levels get exclusive content, exclusive downloads, monthly Python automations, bug bounties, live streams with me every single month, plus so much more. And to join, you can simply click the link in the description below, or you can go to our homepage and click the join button there, or you can go to youtube.com/@HankHacksHackers/join, and you will be able to join Hackaholics Anonymous. I hope I see you in the Discord chats. If not, I hope I see you in the comment section. And that is it. It's your boy Hank Hackerson at Hank Hacks Hackers, your favorite network and system attacker/protector. If no one else loves you, Hank loves you. Love, peace, and chicken grease. And I'll see you in the next video. Later.